The small Haitian community center in the 18th arrondissement of Paris smelled of fried plantains and strong coffee that February afternoon in 2022. Chloe Dubois had volunteered to help organize a cultural event celebrating Haitian independence, something she did whenever homesickness threatened to overwhelm her. At 23, she'd been living in France for nearly 2 years, having fled Port-au-Prince after the devastating earthquake and subsequent gang violence had destroyed everything she'd known. She was arranging chairs when she first noticed him. Tall, with sandy brown hair and an easy smile, he stood awkwardly near the entrance, clearly out of place among the predominantly Haitian crowd. He wore a navy blue sweater and khakis, the uniform of American expatriates in Paris, and carried a camera around his neck. "Bonjour," he said in heavily accented French, approaching her. "I'm Michael Warren. I'm a photojournalist working on a piece about diaspora communities in Paris. Someone told me about this event." Chloe switched to English, which she'd learned in school back home. "You're American." "Guilty as charged," he grinned. "From Chicago originally, but I've been based in Paris for about 6 months now. You speak English really well." "Thank you. I'm Chloe." She extended her hand and he shook it firmly. His palm was warm, his grip confident without being aggressive. Michael spent the afternoon photographing the event, but Chloe noticed his lens kept finding her. Not in a predatory way, she thought, but with genuine interest. During the traditional music performance, he sat beside her, asking questions about the instruments, the lyrics, the meaning behind the dances. Unlike many foreigners she'd encountered, he actually listened to her answers. "This is beautiful," he said sincerely, as elderly women demonstrated traditional Haitian folk dances. "How long have you been in Paris?" "Almost 2 years. I arrived in late 2020 after." She trailed off, not ready to discuss the trauma that had driven her from her homeland. Michael seemed to understand. Must have been tough, starting over in a foreign country. "It was necessary," Chloe said simply. "Haiti became too dangerous. My parents died in the earthquake and then the gangs." She stopped herself. "But France has been good to me. I work as a nursing assistant at a hospital in the 19th. It's honest work." "That's noble," Michael said, and she couldn't detect any condescension in his voice. "Healthcare workers are heroes, especially after COVID." They talked for hours that day. Chloe learned that Michael was 31, divorced with no children, and had been working as a photojournalist for various international publications for nearly a decade. He'd covered conflicts in Afghanistan and Syria, but had recently decided he wanted to focus on more human interest stories, documenting communities rather than wars. "I got tired of photographing death," he admitted. "I wanted to capture life instead." Before leaving, Michael asked if he could take her to dinner sometime. "To thank you for being such a great cultural guide today," he explained. "And because I'd really like to get to know you better." Chloe hesitated. She'd been in one serious relationship back in Haiti with a young teacher named Andre, who'd been killed during a gang shootout in their neighborhood. The memory still hurt, and she'd sworn off men for a while, focusing instead on building a stable life in her new country. But there was something different about Michael. He seemed genuine, respectful, curious about her culture rather than exoticizing it. Against her better judgment, she agreed. Their first date was at a small Haitian restaurant in Belleville. Michael insisted she order for both of them, wanting to experience authentic cuisine. He gamely tried griot and pickles, laughing at the spice level, but finishing every bite. They talked about everything: her childhood in Port-au-Prince, his upbringing in suburban Chicago, their dreams and disappointments. "I want to open my own clinic someday," Chloe confessed. "Back in Haiti, if it ever becomes safe again. Or maybe here. Serving the Haitian community. So many people don't have access to proper health care." "That's an amazing goal," Michael said warmly. "You're going to do incredible things, Chloe. I can tell." The relationship developed slowly at first. Michael was often away on assignment, traveling to other European cities for his work. But he called regularly, sent her photographs he'd taken, brought her small gifts from his travels. Chloe found herself looking forward to his return, to the way his face lit up when he saw her. 6 months into their relationship, Michael's work brought him to Haiti for a photo essay on rebuilding efforts. He asked Chloe if she wanted to accompany him to see her homeland again. She declined, the wounds still too fresh. But she gave him detailed instructions on places to visit, people to meet. When he returned, he showed her hundreds of photographs. "Your country is resilient," he said. "Broken in so many ways, but undefeated, like you." It was one of the most thoughtful things anyone had ever said to her. That night, Chloe let herself truly fall for him. By their first anniversary, Michael had proposed. It wasn't elaborate. A simple dinner in their favorite restaurant, a modest but beautiful ring. "I know we come from different worlds," he said, "but I think that's what makes us work. You've taught me so much about strength and perseverance. I want to spend my life with you, Chloe. Will you marry me?" She said yes, tears streaming down her face. For the first time since fleeing Haiti, she felt like she had a real future again, a chance at happiness and stability. The wedding planning began immediately. Michael's parents flew in from Chicago, his mother Patricia, a retired schoolteacher, and his father Robert, who'd worked in manufacturing his entire life. They were polite, but reserved when meeting Chloe, their smiles tight and measured. "You're very young," Patricia observed over coffee. Michael's first wife was young too. That marriage didn't work out. "Mom," Michael warned, but his mother continued, "I just want my son to be happy and to understand what he's getting into, culturally speaking. International marriages can be complicated." Chloe felt the subtle dismissal but held her tongue. She understood that some people would always see her as foreign, as other. She'd dealt with it before and would deal with it again. Michael's friends were warmer, particularly his colleague Jason, another photojournalist who'd covered Haiti extensively. "You're good for him," Jason told Chloe at the engagement party. "He's been different since meeting you, more grounded, happier." The wedding was planned for June, a small ceremony at the Paris City Hall, followed by a reception at a restaurant in the Latin Quarter. Chloe invited her small circle of Haitian friends, while Michael's guest list was considerably longer. Family from America, colleagues from various international postings. As the wedding date approached, Chloe noticed subtle changes in Michael's behavior. He became more possessive, questioning where she went and who she saw. He didn't like her going out with her Haitian friends, claiming he felt excluded when they spoke Creole. "I just want to be part of your life," he explained. "All of it. Is that so wrong?" Chloe brushed aside her concerns. Pre-wedding jitters, she told herself. Every couple went through this. Besides, Michael had been nothing but supportive for over a year. She was probably overreacting. But the night before the wedding, lying awake in her small apartment, Chloe felt an inexplicable sense of dread. She couldn't pinpoint its source, couldn't rationalize it away. Something felt wrong, like a storm approaching on a clear day. She told herself it was normal to be nervous. Tomorrow, she would become someone's wife again, would tie her life to another person's in the most permanent way possible. Of course she was anxious. But deep down, in a place she didn't want to acknowledge, a small voice whispered a warning she chose not to hear. The ceremony at the Paris City Hall was brief and administrative, conducted in French with an interpreter for Michael's family. Chloe wore a simple ivory dress, elegant but modest, purchased from a boutique in the Marais. Michael looked handsome in his charcoal suit, his eyes never leaving her face as they exchanged vows. Patricia Warren dabbed at her eyes, though Chloe couldn't tell if they were tears of joy or apprehension. Robert remained stoic, clapping politely when the officiant pronounced them married. Michael's friends cheered, and Chloe's small group of Haitian companions ululated in celebration, the traditional sound echoing through the austere government building. The reception flowed with champagne and laughter. The restaurant owner, a jovial Frenchman who'd known Chloe since her arrival in Paris, had prepared a fusion menu, French classics alongside Haitian dishes. Michael gave a speech about love transcending borders, about finding home in another person rather than a place. Chloe's friend Nadege whispered, "He's a good man. You're lucky." But as the evening progressed, Chloe noticed Michael drinking more than usual. His laugh grew louder, his gestures broader. During their first dance, he held her tightly, almost possessively, his fingers pressing into her back. "You're mine now," he murmured into her ear. "My wife." Something in his tone made her uncomfortable, but she attributed it to the alcohol and the emotion of the day. They'd rented a hotel room at a boutique property in Saint-Germain-des-Prés, a charming place with exposed beams and a view of the Seine. Michael had insisted on somewhere special, somewhere memorable. As they entered the room at nearly midnight, Chloe felt exhaustion settling into her bones. It had been a long, emotionally draining day. "Finally alone," Michael said, loosening his tie. He poured champagne from the bottle the hotel had provided, handing her a glass. "To us, to our future." They clinked glasses, but Chloe barely sipped hers. Michael, however, drained his quickly and poured another. She noticed his hand trembling slightly as he set down the bottle. "Are you okay?" she asked in English, touching his arm. He turned to her, his expression suddenly serious. "We need to talk about something." Chloe's stomach tightened. "Now? Can't it wait until tomorrow?" "No." Michael sat heavily on the edge of the bed. "My mother said something to me today, something that's been bothering me all evening." "What did she say?" Michael looked at her intently, his blue eyes harder than she'd ever seen them. "She mentioned that in some cultures there are certain expectations about marriage, about purity." Chloe felt her breath catch. "Michael, what are you asking?" "Were you with anyone before me?" The question came out flat, direct. "In Haiti, before you came to France?" The room suddenly felt smaller, airless. Chloe had never lied to Michael, but she'd also never volunteered information about her past relationship with André. It had seemed irrelevant. André was dead, part of a life that no longer existed. She'd assumed Michael understood that a 23-year-old woman might have a romantic history. "Why does this matter?" she asked carefully. "Just answer the question, Chloe." His voice had an edge now, sharpened by alcohol and something else, insecurity, perhaps, or wounded pride. Chloe stood up, moving toward the window. The Seine glittered below, tourist boats passing with their bright lights. "Yes," she said quietly. "I had a boyfriend in Haiti. His name was André. He was a teacher. He died in 2019, shot by gang members." The silence behind her was deafening. When she turned, Michael's face had gone pale, his jaw clenched. "You never told me. You never asked. And he's been gone for years, Michael. He died before I even left Haiti." "That's not the point." Michael stood abruptly, nearly knocking over his champagne glass. "The point is, you weren't. You're not." "Not what?" Chloe felt anger rising. "Not a virgin? Is that what your mother told you to worry about?" "Don't bring my mother into this." His voice rose. "This is about honesty, about starting a marriage on truth." "I never lied to you." Chloe's own voice climbed to match his. "André was part of my past, a past that ended tragically. What did you expect, Michael? That I'd lived in a bubble until I met you?" Michael's hands balled into fists. I expected my wife to be pure, to be untouched. The word hung between them like a slap. Chloe stared at him, seeing a stranger where her husband should be. We're in the 21st century, Michael. In Paris, not some Victorian novel. You can't seriously be upset about this. In America, in a Christian household, these things matter. He was pacing now, agitated. My first marriage failed partly because of trust issues. I thought you were different. You thought what? That because I'm Haitian, because I'm from a poor country, I'd be grateful enough to tolerate this kind of backward thinking? Chloe's voice shook with fury. I loved Andre. We planned to marry before he was killed. I don't apologize for that love or for grieving him. Michael whirled on her. Don't you dare compare me to a dead man. I'm your husband now. I'm the one who gave you stability, who helped you build a life here. The implication in his words, that she somehow owed him for marrying her, made Chloe's blood run cold. I never asked you to rescue me. I was building my own life just fine. Really? Working as a nursing assistant, living in a cramped apartment in the 19th? You call that a life? The cruelty in his voice was shocking. I gave you opportunities, a real future. I don't want to hear this. Chloe moved toward the bathroom, needing space, needing to breathe. Michael grabbed her wrist. We're not done talking. Let go of me. She tried to pull away, but his grip tightened. You owe me an explanation, a real one. How long were you with him? How serious was it? I owe you nothing. Chloe yanked her arm free. And I'm not discussing my dead boyfriend on my wedding night, because your mother planted some poisonous idea in your head. The mention of his mother triggered something in Michael. His face flushed red, veins visible at his temples. My mother was right. She said international marriages were complicated, that cultural differences would cause problems. But I defended you. I told her you were different, that you respected American values. American values? Chloe laughed bitterly. You mean the value that women should be ashamed of their past? That we should apologize for living before we met you? Michael's hand shot out, grabbing her arm again, harder this time. Watch your tone. You're my wife now, and that gives you the right to hurt me. Chloe looked pointedly at where his fingers dug into her flesh. For a moment, something flickered in Michael's eyes. Recognition, perhaps even shame. But it vanished quickly, replaced by cold anger. You deceived me. You let me believe. I let you believe nothing. You made assumptions. Chloe wrenched free again, rubbing her arm where red marks were already forming. If you wanted to marry a virgin, you should have asked on our first date. But you didn't, because you're not some religious fundamentalist. You're just a man whose ego is bruised. The slap came without warning, Michael's palm connecting with her cheek with shocking force. Chloe stumbled backward, more from surprise than impact, her hand flying to her face. They stared at each other in the sudden, terrible silence. Chloe's cheek burned, tears springing to her eyes, not from pain, but from the brutal shattering of everything she'd believed about this man. Chloe, Michael's voice broke. I didn't mean... Don't! She held up a hand, stopping him. Don't apologize. Don't make excuses. You pushed me. I pushed you. Her voice was dangerously quiet now. I told you the truth, and you hit me. On our wedding night. Michael stood frozen, his hand still raised, as if surprised by his own action. The red mark on Chloe's cheek bloomed like a wound. For several seconds, neither moved. This isn't me, Michael finally whispered. I don't hit women. My father never raised a hand to my mother. I don't... But you just did. Chloe backed toward the door, her heart hammering. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but where? It was past midnight. She was in a hotel room, and this man was now legally her husband. You made me lose control. Michael's voice hardened again, the brief moment of remorse evaporating. If you'd just been honest from the beginning, none of this would have happened. So it's my fault you hit me. Chloe's voice trembled with rage and fear. That's what abusers say, Michael. That's what men said to women in Haiti before they beat them bloody. The comparison to abusers seemed to ignite something in him. Michael moved quickly, blocking her path to the door. Don't you dare call me an abuser. I've given you everything. You've given me nothing I didn't earn myself. Chloe tried to sidestep him, but he grabbed both her arms, fingers digging into the same spots he'd gripped before. Where do you think you're going? His face was inches from hers now, breath heavy with champagne and anger. We're married, Chloe. You can't just walk away because we had a fight. This isn't a fight. You assaulted me. She struggled against his grip, but he was stronger, his hands like vices. I barely touched you. Stop being dramatic. He shook her slightly, as if to emphasize his point. You want to know what real abuse looks like? I covered wars, photographed real violence. This is nothing. The casual dismissal of his violence chilled Chloe more than the act itself. This was how it started, she realized. The minimizing, the justification, the shifting of blame. She'd seen it in Haiti, had counseled women at the hospital who wore similar expressions of shocked betrayal. Let me go, Michael. She forced herself to sound calm, remembering training about de-escalating violent situations. We're both upset. Let's take space. Talk tomorrow when we're calmer. No. His grip tightened. We're going to settle this now. You're going to tell me everything about this Andre. Every detail. He's dead and buried. There's nothing to tell. Michael's eyes narrowed. Did you love him? The question hung between them, loaded with danger. Chloe knew the truth would hurt him, but lying seemed worse. Yes, I loved him. Something broke in Michael's expression. He released her arms only to grab her hair, yanking her head back. Chloe cried out in pain and shock. More than you love me, he demanded. Michael, you're hurting me. Answer the question. He twisted her hair tighter. Did you love him more? Tears streamed down Chloe's face from pain and fear and grief for the man she'd thought she'd married. Let go, please. You did, didn't you? Michael's voice cracked. I'm just the American who gave you papers, gave you security, but he was your real love. That's not true. Chloe gasped as he yanked harder. Don't lie to me. He shoved her backward, and she stumbled over the bed, falling onto the mattress. Before she could scramble away, Michael was on top of her, pinning her down with his weight. Michael, stop. Terror flooded through her as she realized his intention. Don't do this, please. You're my wife. His hands moved to his belt. That means something, whether you respect it or not. Chloe fought, pushing against his chest, trying to knee him, but he was too heavy, too strong. This is rape, Michael. If you do this, it's rape. He paused, breathing hard, then laughed, a sound completely devoid of humor. You can't rape your own wife. That's not how marriage works. In France it is. In most of the world it is. Chloe's voice broke. Please, Michael, if you ever love me, don't do this. For a moment, something human flickered in his eyes. His grip loosened slightly, and Chloe felt a surge of hope. Then his phone buzzed on the nightstand, his mother's ringtone. Michael's face hardened again, all traces of humanity vanishing. My mother was right about you, he said coldly. You're nothing but a... Chloe didn't let him finish. She brought her knee up hard, connecting with his groin. Michael howled and rolled off her, clutching himself. She scrambled off the bed, running for the door, her fingers fumbling with the lock. Behind her, she heard Michael getting up, cursing. The lock wouldn't open. He'd used the security chain. By the time she got it undone, his hand slammed against the door above her head, holding it shut. "Big mistake," he said quietly. Chloe pressed herself against the door, feeling Michael's weight bearing down from behind. His breath was hot against her neck, his voice low and threatening. "You think you can fight me? Humiliate me in my own hotel room?" He grabbed her shoulder and spun her around, slamming her back against the door. "I'm trying to be patient with you, but you keep pushing." "Patient?" Chloe's voice came out strangled. "You hit me, pulled my hair, tried to..." She couldn't finish the sentence. "Tried to claim what's mine." Michael's hand moved to her throat, not squeezing but resting there, a clear threat. "That's what husbands do on wedding nights. Or did your precious Andre not teach you that?" The mention of Andre's name in this context made something snap inside Chloe. Andre was a good man. He never would have hurt me. Michael's hand tightened around her throat. "Stop saying his name." Chloe clawed at his hand, gasping. Black spots danced at the edges of her vision. She thought of Andre, shot in the street at 25. She'd survived gang violence, an earthquake, immigration only to die at the hands of her American husband on her wedding night. Just as consciousness began to slip, Michael released her. Chloe collapsed to the floor, coughing and gasping, her throat burning. She heard him pacing behind her, muttering to himself. "This is your fault," he said, his voice almost conversational now, which somehow made it more terrifying. "If you'd just answered my questions honestly, if you'd shown some remorse about your past instead of defending it." Chloe's fingers found her small clutch purse on the floor near the door. Inside was her phone. If she could just reach it, call someone. Michael noticed her movement. "Don't even think about it." He kicked the purse away, and it skidded across the room. "Who would you call anyway? The police? Tell them what? That your husband is upset on his wedding night. They'll laugh at you." He was probably right. French police weren't known for taking domestic disputes seriously, especially when they involved immigrants. And what could she say? That he'd slapped her once? Grabbed her? There were no witnesses, no evidence beyond some reddening marks that would fade by morning. Chloe pushed herself up, leaning against the door for support. Her throat ached, and she could feel it swelling. "Let me leave, Michael. I won't tell anyone what happened here. We can get an annulment quietly." "An annulment?" He laughed, a harsh sound. "Do you know how that would look? My second failed marriage, this time to a Haitian immigrant. My mother would never let me hear the end of it. My colleagues would mock me. So I'm supposed to stay with you? After this?" Chloe gestured at herself, her torn dress, her reddening throat, her disheveled appearance. "You're supposed to be a good wife." Michael sat on the bed, suddenly looking exhausted. "That's all I ever wanted. Someone who respected me, who understood what marriage means. Marriage doesn't mean ownership. In my world, it does." He looked at her with something almost like pity. "You come from poverty, from chaos. I offered you stability, legitimacy, a future. The least you could do is show some gratitude." The transactional nature of his thinking was laid bare now. Chloe had suspected it during their courtship, the way he'd sometimes mention helping her with paperwork or covering her expenses. But she'd dismissed it as normal relationship dynamics. Now she understood. Michael had never seen her as an equal. She was a project, a rescue mission, something he'd saved and therefore owned. "I need to use the bathroom," Chloe said quietly, changing tactics. If she could lock herself inside, maybe she could climb out the window or at least buy time until morning. Michael considered this, then nodded. "Leave the door open. I need privacy." "No." His tone was final. "You've lost privacy privileges." Chloe walked slowly to the bathroom, her mind racing. The window was small, probably too small to climb through, and they were 4 floors up anyway. But maybe there was something she could use as a weapon or a way to signal for help. She looked at her reflection in the mirror and barely recognized herself. Her makeup was smeared with tears, her hair tangled, and dark marks were already forming on her throat in the shape of Michael's fingers. This was evidence, she realized. If she survived the night, these marks could tell her story. "Hurry up," Michael called from the bedroom. Chloe turned on the faucet and splashed cold water on her face, trying to think. The bathroom had a small window overlooking an interior courtyard. If she screamed, someone might hear. But would they come? Would they understand? Or would they, as Michael suggested, dismiss it as a marital dispute? She heard Michael's footsteps approaching. "I said hurry." He appeared in the doorway, his expression unreadable. For a moment they stared at each other in the harsh bathroom light. Chloe saw something flicker across his face. Regret? Shame? But it vanished quickly. "Look at you," he said softly. "Look what you made me do." The victim blaming was textbook, and Chloe recognized it from her training at the hospital. This was how abusers operated. Minimize the violence, blame the victim, express hollow remorse. "I'm leaving in the morning," she said firmly. "You can't stop me." "Where will you go? Back to your cramped apartment? I'm on the lease now, remember? We signed the papers last week." He smiled coldly. "Back to Haiti? You have no family there. To your friends? They'll tell you to work it out, that all marriages have rough patches." He was right, and they both knew it. Chloe had burned bridges in Haiti, had only a few close friends in Paris, and had entangled her life with Michael's in countless small ways over the past 18 months. Leaving wouldn't be simple. "I'll find a way," she said, but her voice lacked conviction. Michael stepped closer, backing her against the sink. "Or you could just accept this. Accept us. Stop fighting me and learn what it means to be a good wife." His hand moved to her face, almost tender, tracing the mark his slap had left. "I don't want to hurt you, Chloe. I want to love you, but you have to meet me halfway." The psychological manipulation was as damaging as the physical violence. Chloe felt her resolve wavering, exhaustion and fear blurring her judgment. Maybe he was right. Maybe this was just a terrible fight, the kind all couples had. Maybe in the morning, with clear heads. No. She stopped that thought. This wasn't a fight. This was assault, and it would happen again if she stayed. "I need to sleep," she said, trying to move past him. Michael blocked her path. "Not yet. We're not done talking." "We've been talking for hours, Michael. There's nothing left to say." Chloe's voice was hoarse from his earlier grip on her throat. "You've made your feelings clear." "Have I?" He leaned against the doorframe, blocking the exit. "Because I don't think you understand the gravity of what you've done. You entered this marriage under false pretenses." "I entered this marriage believing I was marrying someone who loved me." Chloe met his eyes. "Not someone who would attack me for having a past." Michael's jaw tightened. "In America, we value honesty. We value—" "Stop hiding behind culture," Chloe interrupted, finding courage in her anger. "This isn't about American values. This is about control. You want a wife you can own, not a partner." The slap came faster this time, harder. Chloe's head snapped to the side, and she tasted blood where her teeth cut her inner cheek. Before she could recover, Michael grabbed her by the arms and dragged her back into the bedroom. "You want to know what I want?" His voice was cold, measured, more frightening than when he'd shouted. "I want respect. I want my wife to understand her place." He threw her onto the bed. Chloe scrambled backward, but there was nowhere to go. The headboard trapped her. Michael stood at the foot of the bed, removing his belt with deliberate slowness. "Michael, please!" Chloe's voice cracked. "This isn't you. The man I married wouldn't... The man you married was a fool. He advanced on her. A fool who thought love was enough, who ignored the warning signs that you were damaged goods. The phrase hung in the air, its cruelty taking Chloe's breath away. She'd heard similar words in Haiti, used against women who'd been assaulted or widowed. She'd never imagined hearing them from her husband. "If I'm so damaged, why did you marry me?" she asked, buying time, her eyes darting around the room for anything she could use to defend herself. "Because I thought I could fix you." Michael grabbed her ankle, dragging her toward him. "I thought with the right guidance, you could become a proper wife." Chloe kicked at him with her free leg, connecting with his shoulder. It barely fazed him. He caught her other ankle, pinning both legs down with his weight. "Fighting me will only make this worse," he said, his hands moving to tear what remained of her dress. In that moment, Chloe understood with crystalline clarity that she was fighting for her life. This wouldn't end with assault. Men like Michael, who'd already crossed so many lines, rarely stopped until their victim was silent permanently. She reached for the lamp on the nightstand, her fingers just grazing it. Michael noticed and grabbed her wrist, twisting it until she cried out in pain. "You're not very smart, are you?" He forced her wrist down. "Did Andre like your fighting? Did it excite him?" "Stop saying his name," Chloe screamed, her composure finally breaking. "Why? Does it bother you? Remembering what you had with him? Knowing you'll never have that with me because you ruined it?" Michael's face was close to hers now, his weight crushing her. "You could have had a good life, Chloe, but you had to be honest, had to defend your past. Pride has destroyed better women than you." Chloe turned her head, trying to breathe under his weight. Through the window, she could see the lights of Paris twinkling peacefully, oblivious to the violence unfolding in this hotel room. So many people just beyond these walls, yet she might as well have been on another planet. "Someone will hear," she gasped. "The walls aren't that thick. Go ahead, scream." Michael's smile was terrifying. "I'll tell them you're hysterical, that you had too much champagne. Who do you think they'll believe? The American photojournalist or the Haitian immigrant?" He was right, and they both knew it. Chloe had seen it repeatedly since arriving in France, how immigrants were dismissed, doubted, blamed. She'd comforted other Haitian women at the hospital who'd tried to report violence, only to be turned away or patronized. But she screamed anyway, as loud as she could, in French and Creole, crying for help until her damaged throat gave out and only a rasp emerged. Michael waited until she'd exhausted herself, then shook his head. "Feel better? Got it out of your system." Someone pounded on the wall from the adjacent room. "Taisez-vous!" "Shut up!" Hope flickered in Chloe's chest. Someone had heard. They might call the front desk or... "See?" Michael said conversationally. "You're annoying the neighbors. Maybe you should be quieter." His hands moved to her throat again, and this time the pressure was immediate and intense. Chloe clawed at his hands, her nails drawing blood, but his grip only tightened. The room began to darken at the edges, sounds becoming muffled and distant. Through the roaring in her ears, she heard more pounding, on the door this time. "Monsieur? Madame? Tout va bien?" A man's voice, probably hotel security. Michael's hands loosened slightly, enough for Chloe to gulp air. His eyes met hers, and she saw calculation there. If he let her speak to whoever was outside, it was over. But if he didn't answer, they might force entry. "Just a moment," Michael called out in French, his accent terrible but understandable. To Chloe, he whispered, "You say one word, and I will kill you before they get this door open. Do you understand?" Chloe nodded, tears streaming down her face. Michael released her throat, but kept one hand over her mouth as he moved toward the door. With his free hand, he smoothed his hair, straightened his shirt, composed himself. He opened the door partially, keeping the chain engaged. Chloe could see a thin slice of the hallway, could hear the conversation, but couldn't see the security guard's face. "Is everything all right, monsieur? We received complaints of screaming." "My apologies," Michael said smoothly, his tone sheepish. "My wife had a bit too much champagne at our wedding reception. She's been sick, very emotional. You know how women can be." A pause. "May I speak with Madame?" "She's sleeping now, finally. It took some time to calm her down." Michael's grip on Chloe tightened, a warning. "I'd really rather not wake her." "I understand, but look, we're on our honeymoon." Michael's voice took on a conspiratorial tone. "It's been a stressful day, lots of family drama. She's from Haiti, and the cultural differences. Well, sometimes there are misunderstandings. But we're fine now. I promise." Another pause, longer this time. Chloe held her breath, praying the guard would insist on seeing her, would push past Michael and discover the truth. "Very well, monsieur. But please, no more disturbances. Other guests are trying to sleep." "Of course. Again, my apologies. It won't happen again." Chloe heard footsteps retreating down the hallway. Michael closed the door, locked it, and turned to face her with a smile that held no warmth whatsoever. "See how easy that was? One phone call, and you're written off as a hysterical immigrant bride." He walked back toward the bed. "No one's coming to save you, Chloe. No one cares." Chloe lay on the bed, every muscle in her body aching, her throat raw and swollen. Michael stood by the window, his back to her, silent. The Paris skyline stretched beyond him, indifferent to the horror unfolding in this small room. Minutes passed, maybe hours. Chloe had lost track of time. She remained still, afraid any movement might reignite his violence. Her mind raced through possibilities, waiting until he slept, trying to reason with him again, making a run for the door. None seemed viable. "I loved you," Michael said finally, his voice flat. "I really did, or I thought I did." Chloe said nothing. There was nothing left to say. He turned to face her. "Do you know how humiliating this is? My mother will ask questions. My friends, everyone at my office. How's married life, Mike? How's your beautiful bride?" "What am I supposed to say?" "The truth," Chloe whispered. "That we made a mistake." "A mistake?" He laughed bitterly. "You made me look like a fool. You let me marry you knowing you were damaged." "I'm not damaged. I'm human." Chloe forced herself to sit up, wincing at the pain. "I had a life before you. That doesn't make me less worthy of love. But it makes you less worthy of me." Michael moved closer, and Chloe tensed. "I could have married anyone. American women, European women, women who understood their value. But I chose you. I saved you from poverty and violence, and this is how you repay me." "I never asked you to save me." Chloe's voice was barely audible. "I was surviving just fine. Surviving isn't living." He sat on the edge of the bed, not touching her but close enough that she could feel his presence like a weight. "I offered you a real life, security, legitimacy, children eventually, a house, everything a woman should want. I wanted a partner, not an owner." Michael's expression hardened. "In a marriage, someone has to lead. That's the man's role. If you'd understood that, accepted it, none of this would have happened." The circular logic of abusers, always finding a way to blame the victim. Chloe recognized it from her nursing training, from domestic violence awareness sessions at the hospital. She'd counseled other women, told them it wasn't their fault, urged them to leave. Now she understood how difficult that was when you were trapped in the moment. "Let me go," she said, trying one last time. "I'll leave France if you want. Go back to Haiti. You'll never have to see me again." and let everyone know our marriage failed after one night. Michael shook his head. No, we're going to figure this out. You're going to learn how to be a proper wife, and we're going to make this work. I can't stay with you after tonight. Chloe forced herself to meet his eyes. You know that's impossible. Something shifted in Michael's face. The mask of reasonableness cracked, revealing the rage beneath. You don't get to make that choice. You're mine now, legally, spiritually, completely mine. He lunged at her before she could react, his hands wrapping around her throat with terrifying efficiency. This time, there was no hesitation, no loosening of grip. His thumbs pressed into her windpipe with singular purpose. Chloe fought, her survival instinct overriding exhaustion and pain. She clawed at his face, drew blood, thrashed beneath him. But Michael was bigger, stronger, and driven by something beyond reason. You should have just obeyed, he said, his voice eerily calm as he squeezed. That's all I wanted. Obedience. Chloe's vision narrowed to a tunnel. She thought of her parents, buried beneath rubble in Port-au-Prince. Of André, bleeding out on a dusty street. Of the life she'd tried to build in Paris, working double shifts and studying French and believing in new beginnings. Her last conscious thought was how quiet the room had become. No screaming, no shouting, just the sound of Michael's breathing and the distant hum of Paris traffic below. Her body went limp. Michael held on for another minute, then two, making sure. When he finally released her, Chloe's head lolled to the side, her eyes vacant, a thin line of blood trickling from her nose. Michael stood up, staring at what he'd done. His hands trembled. This wasn't supposed to happen. He just wanted her to understand, to submit, to be the wife he deserved. He looked at his hands, her blood under his nails, marks from her desperate scratching on his face and neck, evidence everywhere. The hotel had his credit card, his ID. Security had heard screaming, had come to the door. Panic set in. Michael paced the room, his mind racing. He could claim self-defense, say she'd attacked him. But her injuries told a different story. The finger-shaped bruises on her throat, the defensive wounds on her hands, the torn dress. He sat in the chair, his head in his hands, and waited for the inevitable. The cleaning staff found them the next morning. Michael sitting calmly by the window, Chloe's body on the bed, already growing cold. The young housekeeper's screams brought hotel security, then police, then paramedics who confirmed what everyone already knew. Michael was arrested without resistance. He seemed almost relieved, giving a full confession within hours. He explained about the past relationship, about feeling deceived, about how she'd provoked him. The police officers exchanged glances. They'd heard it all before. The case was straightforward. Physical evidence, confession, no credible claim of self-defense. The prosecutor charged Michael with murder, seeking the maximum sentence. The trial drew international attention. Immigrant advocacy groups rallied around Chloe's memory. Michael's photojournalist colleagues expressed shock. He seemed so normal, they said, the eternal refrain of those who knew killers. Patricia Warren testified for her son, claiming cultural differences had driven him to temporary insanity. The jury wasn't convinced. They deliberated for 4 hours before returning a guilty verdict. Michael received 25 years, eligible for parole in 18. He showed no emotion as the sentence was read. Chloe's body was returned to Haiti, buried in a cemetery overlooking the Caribbean. Her friend Nadege organized the funeral, which drew dozens of members of the Haitian community in Paris. They created a scholarship in Chloe's name for young Haitian women pursuing nursing degrees. Sophie, the French teacher who'd tried to help, gave interviews about the warning signs she'd missed, about how the system had failed Chloe. She asked for help, Sophie said, her voice breaking, and no one came. The hotel security guard who'd knocked on the door that night quit his job, haunted by what might have been if he'd insisted on seeing Chloe. The neighbor who'd pounded on the wall in annoyance rather than concern struggled with guilt. In the aftermath, France strengthened its domestic violence laws, created better protection for immigrant women, trained first responders to recognize the signs. Chloe's case became a teaching example, a cautionary tale, a call to action. But for those who knew her, she remained more than a symbol. She was Chloe Dubois, who'd survived an earthquake and gang violence, who'd built a new life through sheer determination, who'd believed in love despite every reason not to, a woman who'd deserved so much more than she got. The Haitian Community Center in the 18th arrondissement, where Chloe and Michael had first met, now bore a plaque in her memory. Chloe Dubois, 1999-2022. Survived disaster, killed by violence, never forgotten. Years later, domestic violence advocates would cite Chloe's case when arguing for reform. Her story illustrated everything wrong with how society treats immigrant women, how abuse is minimized, how victims are blamed. Michael Warren served his sentence in a French prison, granted occasional interviews in which he expressed remorse, but continued to insist that Chloe had provoked him. Parole boards would repeatedly deny his early release, noting his failure to take full responsibility. Chloe's apartment in the 19th arrondissement stood empty for months before being rented to another immigrant family seeking their dreams in Paris. The hospital where she'd worked held a memorial service, her colleagues remembering her dedication and kindness. The wedding dress she'd worn, modest, ivory, hopeful, remained in an evidence locker, a silent witness to the dreams that died that night in a Saint-Germain hotel room. And in Haiti, in the cemetery where Chloe rested beside Andre and her parents, the Caribbean wind whispered through palm trees, carrying stories of lives cut short by violence, of resilience and tragedy, of a young woman who'd survived so much only to fall victim to the man who'd promised to love her. Her tombstone bore a simple inscription in French and Creole: "Beloved daughter, remembered friend, forever free."